Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope you're well. It's been quite a long time since I last made a video, so I feel a bit strange. It's like going back in time or something. But I think it's been over 2 years since I last made a video, so that's a very, very, very long time. Um, but I'm hoping to get back into the swing of things. I think I just, lost a bit of motivation to make these sorts of videos, and I think I ran out of things that I wanted to say, and I didn't think I knew enough about MBTI and stuff to actually, make videos on it. But yeah, hopefully I'm going to be making more videos soon. I've already made a video with one of my INFP friends that I'm going to upload probably at the same time as this, so it's probably already up now somewhere. But for the time being, thank you to everyone that still watches these things. I don't even know how many people bother nowadays with these sorts of things, but yeah, and thank you to all the people that have subscribed and messaged me. I've tried to reply to most of you. I think a few people have been asking me what I'm doing, if I'm still alive and kicking and interested in MBTI at all, things like that. And so the answer is yes, I still am. Yeah. So I'm going to try and keep this short, but this video is I basically just want to talk about some of the sort of stereotypes of MBTI, because there's a lot of misunderstandings regarding MBTI, what it is and what it isn't, and things like that. And I think first things first, MBTI and typology, it's just an indicator. It's not, it's kind of like a guide. It isn't something that's to be taken literally, So when you find out what your type is or whatever, it's not something that applies, it sort of solidly applies to it. It's just, sorry, I just got distracted by my kittens. So yeah, so it's, we shouldn't focus too heavily on the stereotypes and things like that. We should focus more on typology being a sort of a rough guide, or something that can sort of help us. It isn't something that is meant to be taken quite as seriously as perhaps a lot of people online tend to take it. I see a lot of misunderstandings on the internet, certainly on the Facebook groups and the forums. People seem to think all sorts of bizarre things, and they seem to throw a lot of stereotypes around, about introverts, extroverts, sensors, intuitives, and so on and so forth. But an important thing to remember is that we shouldn't focus too heavily on the actual letters like INTP. We should focus more on the functions. So when you find out what type you are, or you think you know what type you are, you need to look at the functions that you use for that type. Because I hear a lot of people saying things like, one day I'm an INTP and the next day I'm an INTJ, depending on, how I'm feeling. But typology doesn't work like that, because for a start, INTPs and INTJs use completely different functions. Their preferred functions are completely different. So you can't just suddenly be an INTP one day and then become an INTJ the next day. It just doesn't seem to, that just doesn't really be how it works, really. So another thing is the stereotypes. I mentioned this in other videos. We should never ever focus too heavily on the stereotypes. So if you've taken a test or whatever and you come back as a ISTJ, ENTP or whatever, you shouldn't focus on those stereotypes. It's kind of a catch-22, because in order to describe the functions and how the functions work, you have to talk about stereotypes, because you have to give a description of how these things work. And the only real way to do that is to use stereotypes and say, okay, introverted thinkers will tend to act in this way, or will tend to think in this way. Extroverted feelers will tend to think in this way, or will tend to behave in this way. So it's impossible to sort of escape the stereotypes, but we should never ever universally apply the stereotypes to everyone, and say, oh, you're an ENFP, so you must be, an emotional time bomb or something, or any other stereotype that is associated with them, because lots of people will fall under the stereotypes, but not all of them. Like, in many ways, I'm a very stereotypical INTP, but in other ways, I'm not. Some INTP stereotypes don't apply to me. So we should never ever focus on the stereotypes too heavily. I'm just going back to functions. The problems with these sorts of online tests, I mean, a lot of people do these online tests and they come back as, ENTJ or something. And they're like, oh, I'm an INTJ and all this, that, the other. But once you do an online test, you have to then look at the functions that you use and say, okay, do these apply to me? Because quite a lot of the time, that is the best indicator, that is the best way to ascertain your true type, by looking at what functions you use. Because one day you could take a test and be in a really happy mood and come back ENFP or something. Then the next day you could be in a really bad mood, take the test and come back INTP or something. So these online tests, they get a lot of stick, a lot of criticism on the internet from people that don't like typology. And they're right, basically. These online tests, they aren't conclusive by any means. So if you're going to try and do, if you're trying to find out your type, the best thing to do is to maybe do a cognitive functions test, and then sort of look at what functions you use and work out whether that applies to you, whether you are actually using those functions. Because, as I said, MBTI is it's a tool. It isn't something meant to be taken literally. It's more of a tool to kind of help you understand yourself. So when you know what functions you use and what functions you don't use and what is your weakest function and so on, you can then work on that to sort of become a more rounded, better person, I suppose. What else was I going to say? As well, when it comes to the functions, another sort of misconception people have is that people think we only seem to use the top 4 functions. Because in MBTI, and maybe socionics as well, although the systems are a little bit different, but in MBTI, we have to, or they use sort of the top 4 functions. So like in INTPs, it's TI, introverted thinking, extroverted intuition, introverted sensing, and then extroverted feeling. But all types use all the functions. So we all use all 8 functions. It's just that the preference that you sort of have, or the functional preference that you have, makes your, or creates your type. So, INTPs use introverted feeling, extroverted sensing, introverted intuition. We use them all. Every single type uses all the functions, basically. And it just happens that whatever your sort of top 4 functions are, or whatever you prefer to use, that kind of creates your personality type. So there's a lot of people that sort of don't seem to understand this, certainly on these Facebook groups and things like that, and they seem to not really focus on the functions. They focus more on the INTP thing, which is not the best thing to do at all. You can't type someone by saying, okay, are they an introvert or are they an extrovert? Oh, they look like an introvert. Are they a sensor or an intuitive? Oh, they look like a sensor. Are they a feeler or a thinker? Oh, they must be a thinker. Therefore, they're ISTP, ISTJ. That's not the way to do it. You have to sort of look at what functions they use, because the functions are descriptive in nature, and they're the ones that, the functions are the things that actually teach us about ourselves, really. So that's just something I wanted to kind of get off my chest, really, because there's a lot of very kind of misinformed people online, and I'm by no means an expert when it comes to these sorts of things. There's a lot of things I'm still learning, and a lot of things I don't know about MBTI, but it does sort of frustrate me quite a bit when I see people online, someone says something in a comment and they're like, oh, you're obviously an ISTJ, because that's the sort of thing an ISTJ would say, and or you look like an ISTJ or something. It's like, no, just no, it doesn't work like that. So hopefully I'm going to make some more videos. I've got some ideas of things I want to talk about. But in the meantime, if anyone wants me to talk about anything, it could be absolutely anything at all, let me know. As I said, I'm by no means an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just an INTP who likes learning these things. So, yes, thank you for watching.